All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We're talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in today's video, coming off a Baker Mayfield 41 touchdown season, 4,500 passing yards, and the cherry on top, Mr. Liam Cohn is returning to be the Buccaneers offensive coordinator. Bucky Irving, J-Mac, Mike Evans, K. Dotton, a phenomenal, the most underrated offensive line in the NFL, and honestly, it's not even close. Seriously, so underrated. Just how we like it over here in Tampa. Thankfully, it's going to be getting warm on Sunday. Apparently, I'm freezing. It's like 48 right now. It's cold. It's rainy. It's just crappy. So let's get into some hypotheticals here. I don't think Buck fans really are going to like this hypothetical because it involves Cooper Kupp. Not really in a Cooper Kupp sense, but one big question mark for Tampa Bay right now is Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin will be entering unrestricted free agency this offseason. I want this guy back just like every other Buccaneer fan out there. I would be very upset if they lose him, but he's probably going to be right behind T. Higgins, the second most expensive wide receiver in the NFL this offseason. And I don't know if it's a coin flip. I don't know. I'm sure everyone in the organization wants Chris Godwin to return, but it's worth trying to figure out what they're going to do if they don't. So after the Rams lost in their divisional round to the Philadelphia Eagles, Cooper Kupp reflected on the season, and he, also expressed desire to stay with Los Angeles, but he said, who knows what is going to happen? A lot of stuff is out of my control. Now, according to multiple reporters at The Athletic, the Rams spoke with teams about flipping Kupp for a second-round pick before the trade deadline in early November. And they were also willing to pay a portion of his 2024 salary. This is important because he's turning 32 in June, and he's coming off another injury season. This is like 3 straight now, which also is another big reason I don't really necessarily am dying to get him over in Tampa Bay. If it made sense, if they're paying his salary, maybe, but this is what we're going to talk about in today's video in the Tampa Bay wide receiver room. But before we do, hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily Buccaneers content. So he had 59.2 receiving yards per game. That is his lowest average since his rookie season in 2017. So it wouldn't shock me in any way, shape, or form, especially with Puka. Matthew Stafford's contemplating his future. The Rams have a very young defense. They just have a young, interesting team. I'd be not shocked or surprised in any way, shape, or form if Kupp is not on that roster next season. So Mo Moton wrote, I think, like 5 or 6 possible destinations for Kupp, and Tampa Bay was one of them. And here's what he had to say. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers could lose Chris Godwin in free agency. He will be the second best wide receiver on the free agent market behind T. Higgins, so he should garner a lot of interest despite coming off an injury-shortened campaign. The Buccaneers have a potential in-house replacement for Godwin in rookie third-rounder Jalen McMillan, who finished second on the team in touchdowns with 8. With that said, Tampa may want veteran reinforcement at wide receiver to draw some coverage away from Mike Evans. So here's where the connection and the linkage makes sense. So Buccaneers offensive coordinator who's coming back, Liam Cohn, actually worked with Cooper Kupp while he was the Rams assistant wide receiver coach from 2018 and 2019. He was also their offensive coordinator in 2022 under head coach and play caller Sean McVay. Now the Buccaneers, as far as like the technicalities about the trade, would need to restructure contracts, right, to get his salary on over. But I'm just saying, if Chris Godwin does sign somewhere else in free agency, I'm not saying Cooper Kupp is the end-all be-all, or it's even something that Tampa Bay should do. I do think all options should be looked into. They should all be exhausted. Cooper Kupp's so versatile. He's so dynamic. He can line up in the slot. He can line up outside. You can hand him the ball. Kupp does everything. But a big thing for him is staying healthy. Now, Chris Godwin's really interesting. 7 games on the season, but he just had a phenomenal year. He was averaging 72.6 receiving yards per game. He also had 5 touchdowns. He averaged 11.5 yards per catch, and he's been here since 2017 when Tampa drafted him. But like that article just stated, whether it's Kupp or Godwin, or whether it's Kupp or whoever, if Godwin leaves, I would like some move. I don't think it'll be in the draft because I think that's why they obviously drafted J-Mac. They drafted Trey Palmer, who's just not really working out in the receiving world, which really sucks. 12 catches, 172 yards, 14.3 yards per catch from Trey Palmer, but he's dealt with some drops. More of a special teams guy. His future in Tampa Bay is just kind of, as far as being a legitimate, meaningful snap per game basis at wide receiver, it's just kind of up in the air. It's actually very murky. But Mike Evans coming off another 11th 1,000-yard season, like that article stated, he's going to be drawing a lot of coverage. And so J-Mac, who's just had a really good season, 37 catches for 461 yards, like we just said, 8 total touchdowns. He averaged 12.4 yards per catch. He had a phenomenal end to his rookie season. But that was just his rookie season. He's entering his sophomore campaign. So I'm not saying you got to go out there and get a T. Higgins. I don't even think T. Higgins is rumored to go in Tampa in any way, shape, or form. Not saying you got to get a Kupp if you lose Chris Godwin, but I do think Tampa should heavily prioritize re-signing him, trying to figure out a way to bring him back because, unfortunately, Mike Evans' future should also be some type of question mark in the sense of by the time kickoff next year begins, I know it's a long ways away, Mike Evans will be 32 at that point in time. So I think everyone would agree, please try your hardest to re-sign Chris Godwin, but I am curious if people would be interested in Cooper Kupp or if people have, a replacement or somebody up in their head at the wide receiver position that Tampa should look into. The good news is once again, Baker Mayfield just had a career season. It really can't be understated enough. He had a quarterback rating of 106.8. He did have 16 interceptions. He had a lot of fumbles as well, and he's taken responsibility and saying, this is on me. I need to be way cleaner with the football. And obviously, interceptions aren't always a quarterback stat, and not all 16 of those picks were on Baker. But, like we saw in the Dallas game with the fumble with Rachaad White, like we saw in the game against Washington in the wild card round, these turnovers certainly don't help. So Liam Cohen and Baker Mayfield entering their second season together, which is also something Baker hasn't really had in his entire NFL career, is offensive coordinator stability. The sky's truly the limit here. And I highly anticipate most of Tampa's emphasis in the draft and free agency is going to be on the defensive side of the ball. I cannot wait to watch Tampa offense next year, man. Bucky Irving might be the most underrated running back for rookies in the NFL. He just had over 1,100 total rushing yards. He also chipped in with about 400 passing yards. Rachaad White just had a great season, or a resurgent season, almost 400 receiving yards for him. And along with 613 rushing yards, he just averaged 4.26 yards per carry, which is a huge improvement from being the worst rushing team in the NFL the 2 years prior to this. So very good time to be a Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan. I can't wait for them to figure this out in free agency, but let me know your thoughts on Chris Godwin, Cooper Kupp, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneer wide receiver room. That's it from me. We'll see you soon. Peace.